Hey, good evening and welcome to Fish on Northwest, Wayne, England. The Barnum, you made it here on time again.
Yep.
Huh?
On fire.
Your back's on fire. Aren't you roofing all day?
All day.
Oh, good for you.
The last 2 days.
You know why you're doing that? So I don't have to. Appreciate your effort.
Building America.
Got David over there in IT corner making this whole thing spin around in circles and doing a great job, though he has a look of confusion on his face, so making sure everything's good? All right. Let's see, we'll be joined later by Chef and Sherry, of course, in the kitchen with another fantastic recipe of the week, so make sure you stay tuned for that. He's got a lot of prep going on this evening, so we're going to run that a little later in the show, but I assure you with what he is putting together, I was looking at clams, mussels.
Right.
He had me drag some halibut out of the freezer, some lingcod. He's got some type of seafood stew going that you definitely want to check out. It looks amazing. So we got that going on, but before we get to all that, I want to remind everybody that's tuning in, and thank you for doing so. You can follow us each and every Thursday right here on Facebook, 7 to 9 p.m., or jump over to our YouTube channel, check out what we have going on our YouTube channel. Please subscribe. Keep the numbers building. They're ramping up each and every day, which is pretty nice to see. A lot of our content lives there as well. We got our full-length shows, we have our how-to segments, we have all our cooking segments there in a specific file that you can watch one after another, grab all those recipes and use them on everything you go out and are successful in finding relative to fish, fowl, and game. So good things going on there. Want to remind folks that Fish Hunt Northwest is presented by Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate Pacific Commons, located in Puyallup, Washington. And they help us come to you each and every week, right here Thursday, 7 to 9 p.m. One thing we got going on tonight, Barn, we're up against the first game for the Hawks tonight.
Yep.
Against Denver.
Yeah, it's just preseason, though. You're not going to see anybody good.
No, pretty much everybody gets all hyped up about it. I'm like, let's wait at least till game 4 of preseason before we can take a look at what's going on there. So instead of sitting around talking about football and sports, we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on around the Pacific Northwest and beyond. A few things to, wrap your head around. A couple things going on. Commission meetings as of late, they've been really kind of discussing a lot going on relative to the up-and-coming budget as they move into 2020.
Right, they got to get ahead of that.
They got to get ahead of that. They've been dealing with the budget woes as they get through the rest of this year and into the beginning of next year. But they gotta be ahead of the game in figuring out how they're going to secure funds. And if you remember last week, Chase had some really good information on a federal level of how we can secure some additional funding for WDFW moving into the future. That takes a couple pen swipes there at the federal level to make this happen. In the meantime, there's some things going on there. The commission has authorized to move forward with WDFW submitting their budget to the tune of, and I found some numbers to be kind of interesting. They're requesting to seek $24.5 million in increased operating funds, plus $26 million in capital funds during the 2020 state legislative supplemental season or session. The bulk of the funding requests, $11.4 million, would help the agency to address an ongoing structural deficit driven by the outcome of last, and the unavoidable costs of increases, such as rising costs of wages, and centralized state services, which are vital and need to be done. Most people that work at any county or state level in most facets of work are, you get your pay raise based on cost of living increases. So the WDFW is no different, and they are somewhat obligated to try and bump those increases for persons who have been employed there. They also are seeking $6.6 million to continue servicing the public at current levels, and we keep hearing that. The commission came back to Director Seussman and said, hey, we understand you have budget shortfalls, but you need to find a way to maintain levels at the same, service at the same levels. I don't know about you, but if you had a drastic cut in your wages or your monies, and you had to lay off all your guys, you're not going to be able to get that house done as fast as you can right now.
No, and the fact that they're even talking, and we talked about this a couple weeks ago, where he said he was going to try to avoid layoffs, try to continue to service at the same level. It's like the fact that he's even trying to make that happen.
How do you even do
is
that?
A testament.
Absolutely. So the department's services at risk for 2020 without ongoing additional funding, and you guys need to pay attention to this, okay? they're not messing around here. They will have severe cuts to staff who provide community and private landowner habitat conservation, cuts to fish programs and production at 8 salmon and trout hatcheries, and by trout they mean steelhead.
Right.
Cuts to hunting opportunities. They'll be closing more gates. Cuts to staff available to provide non-lethal response when people and wildlife are in conflict.
Right.
We cover that a lot, Barnum.
Yeah.
We talk about interactions with cats, bears, now wolves.
Right.
And if there's nobody in the field accessible to come out and, mitigate that situation
right.
or take care of that problem,
right.
you're kind of on your own. Now people are going to take up arms.
Right, and people have to understand that majority of these encounters with wildlife don't happen normally with hunters in their backyards. I mean, majority of the population doesn't hunt,
right.
So odds would say that most of those encounters are going to happen with non-hunting people.
Such as the 4-year-old in Leavenworth
right.
who was drug off by that mountain lion.
Right.
Middle of the day.
Right.
Right. So cuts to shellfish inspections for the benefit of public safety. So when we get these acid outbreaks or tides that
right.
are not conducive to eating shellfish, you may not get those warnings. They won't have boots on the ground testing and sampling those waters to see what's going on. Cuts to access and salmon and steelhead fishing on portions of the Columbia River and its tributaries. We're already complaining about the amount of cutbacks that we're subjected
right.
to, and right at the cusp of when we think some of our fisheries are kind of rebounding and things are looking up in
right.
some regards, and moving into next year as we get through this fall and whatnot and have an outlook for 2020 on the Chinook front next year, it's exciting right now. And
right.
then what we're going to end up with is, finally we have all these fish to go after, and guess what? We can't go after them because they have nobody in the field to manage the
right.
fishery. They have nobody to take creel counts. They have nobody to do enforcement. They have nobody to truly gauge whether the run is under or overperforming, as we often talk about. If you don't have that ability, you're not going to allow fishing to be on the waters,
right?
Because you can't gauge it. So cuts to maintenance of forest health treatments across millions of acres of land, and cuts to customer service. And I know a lot of you are probably going, customer service. They don't have customer service as it is. They are
right.
trying to do a much better job in that regard
right.
with transparency and the things they are putting out there for us to wrap
right.
our head around. But
well, and I think the first thought you get when you read this is scare tactics.
Yeah.
But you have to realize that these are directed to tell hunters and fishermen kind of what's coming down the pipeline, and,
right.
and we're not at fault for the budget downfall.
Right.
So this isn't scare tactics pointed at us.
No.
I mean, it could be scare tactics pointed at the legislation, but I think this is probably a serious list of things that we could lose if they don't figure out a way to fund this thing.
They have gone to great lengths to really take a look at what the demands are, what the budget restraints are, and the reductions that would have to take place. These are, in their mind, the least problematic, and yet
right.
they're significant enough that it would affect opportunity on the water and in the woods,
right.
as we've often quoted. So,
right. Could you imagine losing 8 hatcheries?
Ridiculous.
Wow.
So I guess the reason we bring this up now is because the commission had a recent meeting
mm-hmm.
where they basically said, yes, we want you to submit budget proposal for this amount in these line items. Yes,
right.
we want you to go for this amount of money for this reason. And they basically have signed off on saying that, yes, we recognize WDFW needs this much money in 2020 from the legislator to perform to the level that is needed. We could sit on our hands right now as those who enjoy fishing and hunting and just wait till it all kind of comes together. Mm-hmm. The legislators are back in session. They're getting inundated with all different obstacles. They have stuff thrown at them, day in and day out for the entire session. All these private groups, all these lobbyists, everybody coming at them, cutthroat, trying to
yep.
say, hey, look at me, we need money. Do your due diligence now. I know for a fact a lot of folks tuning in tonight and throughout the week as you watch this, you may or may not even know which district you reside. You may or may not even know who your representatives are and who your senators are for the state, believe it or not. So this is a time now that we have as outdoor enthusiasts, anglers, and hunters to simply get online and make a difference. Go to accesswad.gov. Easiest way to find your district, first starting point, okay? Accesswad.gov. And you're simply going to enter your name, your address, zip code, Or if you can't find that, go to Washington State Legislators and how to find your representative. Google something like that. It'll pop up. You click on it, you open up the web page, you put in your personal information, name, address, maybe phone number, I forget what they have on there, zip code. Your district comes up as soon as you go next. When your district comes up, you then look at, it puts a pin drop where your address is and what district you reside. So now you know your district, and oh, by the way, a little box pops up that has your state representatives in there. You click on those links to their names, it goes right to their contact information. You can simply now type up a generic letter, a letter of, making contact with them on a personal note to say, we or I fully would like you to secure funding for WDFW. Me and my constituents would greatly appreciate it if you would find it the importance of completely funding WDFW as we roll into 2020. Type up some type of letter. I'm actually going to get a hold of Nella Pacinich with CCA and see if they can draft a generic letter that we can get out. We'll put it up on our Facebook page and folks can grab a hold of that.
Right.
Because if we start now and you're taking the time to contact within your district, your representatives, and sending them this letter, now when they have time to read emails, when they aren't so buried in session that they can't get caught up on stuff, and start planting that seed now to make everyone aware that, hey, we expect the legislator of 2020 to fully fund WDFW. Right. That's our goal. And if we're truly passionate about hunting and fishing and don't want to see all these budget cuts come to fruition in 2020, we need to get in their ear now. Don't you agree, Barnum?
Absolutely agree.
Yeah. So the only reason we are having this conversation and we put those slides up is so that you can see how easy it is to locate your district, locate your representatives, and send them an email and get them in our camp. So more on that to come. We want to make sure you guys are in tune with what's going on and have opportunity to make a difference. Still some quota left up there in Area 9.
Yeah.
Actually was on the phone with David Stormer. He is the fisheries manager for WDFW in Puget Sound, throughout all Puget Sound, who may be joining us Saturday, by the way.
Okay.
With that, good conversation with him last night. He said that, yes, it's open through Friday, and they're actually going to tally the numbers as of late Friday, and they may have a late announcement Friday evening that they extend it into Saturday.
Wow.
Not saying they are right now. They got to take in the numbers. The fishing up there the last couple of days has been phenomenal. So who knows where those numbers will come in. But for all those that were kind of a little upset because the opener was from Tuesday to Friday, and I get it, everybody's working, right? Unless you come down with an illness all of a sudden and got to go fishing.
Right.
So Saturday may be a final day they add, but we won't know until tomorrow evening. If we get word of that, you can bet we'll make sure we get that out there on our social media on both Instagram and Twitter and Facebook to let you guys know. Because if you're not going to join us on Saturday, which you should. Matter of fact, you probably got time. You go get your fish in Area 9 and then bust on down to Sportco and come see us by 1 o'clock. Something else I posted up here yesterday, I think.
I think so.
Yep. So it's kind of getting put out there now, and it's generating a lot of discussion. A lot of people had things to say in regards to this. January 1st, 2020, guides, professional guides who guide for a living, are licensed and providing fishing opportunity for clients, will now be required to submit monthly logbooks of their daily activity. So each day guides take clients on the water, they're required to enter their data into a logbook.
Right.
And what information are they seeking?
It's going to help them kind of dictate the size of the run. It's going to help them see fishing pressure. Right. It's going to help them see, what kind of effects on the economy sports fishermen have and the guide business has on a general area, because they'll be able to look at that. That's a big one. Yeah, they'll be able to look at that and see the number of people that are being ran on trips and get a judgment on how, I mean, because right now they have no way to track that whatsoever.
Yeah.
I mean, that's always the argument we have. Well, sport fishing or hunting, we're such a benefit to the community. We bring in so many dollars, but there's no accurate way to track that.
Sure.
I mean, it's easy to track, you know, the commercial fishery and the pounds of fish that are offloaded at the docks and the jobs that it creates. Right.
Shellfish
it's
too.
Really hard to track like the sport fishing industry and the jobs that it creates.
Their logbooks, and they've been doing this in Alaska for a long time, and a handful of guys that chimed in, former Alaskan guides or current Alaskan guides, they say, we've been doing a logbook thing for a very long time. We are on board with it. We feel like it's an asset to the department in their attempt to manage fisheries. It's simple information they're seeking from the guides, as in, you know, date, location, time on the water, time off the water, how many clients, fish caught, numbers, and of course species, and a few other odds and ends.
And so this is going to be, at least we're speculating, but to me, we talk about location, and that's one of the biggest things I'm seeing with the comments online is, well, they're going to know all, you know, people are going to know locations. When they say locations, I mean, when you look at the Columbia River, each distinct area of the river has a catch code.
Sure.
Okay? That's going to be the location they're going to go by. They're going to use the catch code.
Yes.
Okay, date August 13th.
It's not going to be a pin drop.
509 or whatever it is. You
longitude,
know, number of
latitude,
people, number of fish caught, by catch, you know, how many fish released, that type of thing. I mean, so, and we know the pace of government. We know government does not work fast at anything.
No.
So this information is not going to be available real time, so you can click on the WDF website and go, oh my God, the 19 guides that are fishing, you know, the Willapa River caught 38 fish yesterday. It's time, we got to go. Like this information is going to come to you publicly months after the season is over.
Or if it's even available. This is general information gathering for WDFW to manage run size, forecasting, in-season management adjustments, albeit a month at a time. You're only getting snapshots throughout the course of time that these submissions come in, and they continue to run that data. For all those online that are screaming and throwing their arms up and going, this is ridiculous, you're going to have all these people following guide boats around. None of that could even remotely happen. It happens right now.
No, and you're not, I still don't see a situation where you're going to be able to go on the website and search a guide's name or a guide's angler ID number to where you're going to know specifically how many fish he catches.
You think guides down Buoy 10 right now, you think Cameron Black doesn't have guys following him around?
Right.
I mean, his boat is recognizable. Cody Herman.
Yes.
Right? Austin Mosier. I mean,
these guys know when they billboard the side of their boat that they're going to get followed around.
Yeah. So
I mean, a lot of the guides, like I've seen somebody comment, are already doing this. Cody's a perfect example at Buoy 10 with his Buoy 10 reports.
It's the same thing.
I mean, it's the same thing, but instead of, you know, coming to the coming to his Facebook or YouTube page and giving you those numbers, he's going to give the state those
Cody
numbers.
Cody does it via video. Cameron does it via write-up daily. The guy sits down and hammers that. I don't know where he finds the time, but he puts out all the information, you know, catches, losses, releases, whatever. They're putting that info out there. I guess the bottom line here is this information gathered by the state will not be public knowledge to the tune of exact location, time, date, all this stuff that people are worried about. They already do it with the commercial fishing industries. They already do it with the shellfish industries. They've been having to submit monthly logbooks as long as we can remember. That information, you can't just go dig it up. I mean,
and that information, because I use that information all the time through the Willapa fishery. I mean, you can go to wdfw.wa.gov and go to fishing, go to commercial fishing, and then go down to the Willapa Bay gillnet fishery, and you can get the gillnet schedule, you can get the landings from last year, the current landings, all that information's great to look at run size. That's the same thing where it's going to be helpful here is to go back and look at run size. And we bitch all the time going, how are they closing that? There's no way 4,000 fish were caught already. This is BS. Well, they're trying to come up with a way where they can look at this on a real-time basis, at least monthly, and get an idea if the quota was met or if the quota wasn't, maybe a little more logistically have a better, more accurate number.
If you think this is going to be beneficial to recreational folks and you're chasing reports basically that are a month old, you'd be more suited spending your time digging on the internet, looking at hatchery smolt releases that are applicable to this year's return. You look 3 years ahead or 4 years ahead, or back I should say, at what the smolt release was on a particular watershed for the return of this year. All that information is available each and every year on smolt releases. You can look at every hatchery production, what they're releasing smolt as far as Chinook, coho, chum, and steelhead. All those numbers are available. And for those that do that, it benefits you in choosing, if you have a limited amount of time, what and where you're going to put your effort on the water.
Right.
Because you anticipate, well, if we're getting a 1% return across the board, on a number of our fisheries, I want to go somewhere where there is, 500,000 fish release versus 50,000 fish release.
And this is a perfect example. It happened, it started last year on Willapa in the case that, they cut the Forks Creek hatchery from 3.3 million Chinook down to 300,000 Chinook smolt being released. Right. And I heard lots of complaints from people going, there doesn't seem to be any fish this year.
And
like, where are the fish?
Idea.
And they had no idea that they had cut the run by 90%. So you're fishing fish that you expect to be there that are not coming. And that is more valuable information. How many fish are projected to be back? What were the smolt releases? That's way better information than,
after the fact.
Right.
Yeah.
Information from the first of the month that you got, probably 3 months later.
This entire program kind of catapulted out of the coastal region and the Guides Association when they were toting the line, talking with the state, in looking at ways of managing the fisheries out on the coast.
Right.
They wanted to limit the number of guides. They wanted to have basically a minimum maximum opportunity for guides. They're trying to come up with some means of control because the local guides out there felt it was just getting way too much pressure.
Right.
Which, in all intents and purposes, it was, because so many of our other fisheries throughout Puget Sound and whatnot have been shut down.
Right.
So now everybody's flooding to the coast to try and get their fish. This thing kind of morphed over the couple years as it progressed. Kelly Cunningham with WDFW was out both on the east and west sides of the state hosting meetings, taking input from guide groups. This has been in the works for quite some time. And some of the guides are saying, well, they didn't listen to us. They're just doing what they want to do. There was quite a few guides in support of in various locations in different regions throughout the state. This shouldn't have caught anybody off guard when they finally announced that the commission approved and it's going through. And to answer questions and hopefully shed some light on the true intent of this entire thing, I'm going to be in touch with Kelly Cunningham later this week, and he's always pretty forthcoming and makes himself available. I think we'll have him on the phone, if not in studio here next week. And we'll just kind of delve into that to make sure we clear up any misconceptions and make sure we kind of calm the masses and let people know this is not going to be detrimental to any of our fisheries in any way, shape, or form. I see it as a useful tool in managing our fisheries. If you're mad at me for that, oh well, that's how I see it.
Right.
So,
we have to come up with a way to track the fishery in real time.
These guys
that's going to be more beneficial to us as sportsmen to increase opportunity for us, because we're getting to a point with technology. This shouldn't be a guess. Right. This shouldn't be we had an average of one fish per 4 rods, and we think there was 8,000 rods, so we think they caught this many fish.
Oh, you mean like flyovers?
Right. This stuff has to, we have to get to a point in 2020. We're way past landing on the moon.
Yeah. Well, did that really happen? So
it's time to get more accurate real-time data.
The flyovers people complain about, the putting a 4-rod number on every boat they see on the water for encounters and quota fishing. People are tired of all that. These are models that they utilize to do in-season management, and of course, trying to get more aggressive with creel counts on actual people coming off the water. But it's difficult when your budget's been annihilated and you have no boots on the ground.
Right.
So this is another these men and women, professional guides, are on the water each and every day. They are the ones with their thumb on the pulse of what's truly going on. So you need to support the idea of them doing honest reporting that's going to benefit in our fisheries management. Okay, enough on that. Big reminder, Saturday, 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock, Sportco. We got a pretty good lineup going. Got a bunch of stuff sitting over here off studio that we're giving away. Free swag, all kinds of good stuff. Crab pots, kokanee rods from Northwest Rods, crab pots, and got a bunch of floats and different gear and stuff from Bomac. Have some inline fish flash and whatnot from Yakama Bait. whole bunch of Pautzke stuff. We got tons of stuff over there that's going away free during the commercial breaks. You have to be present to win. We are doing a full-on 2-hour live show at Sportco during the tent sale, Saturday 1 to 3 p.m. We have 2 or 3 guests. I'm kind of going back and forth because we've secured at least 2. Dave Shamp from Hatchery and Wild Coexist is going to be in with us for a lengthy segment updating on everything that's going on. Talk about the Patagonia release, artificial, and how ridiculous that brainwashing movie is and what type of mixed signals it's sending. That'll be a very good conversation. We're going to have David Trout on, who is the man at with the Nisqually Indian Tribes Fisheries Management. He is the guy that has just a wealth of knowledge in all the things they are doing. This is going to be a very great, I'm looking for this conversation because here is an individual that oversees pretty much the entire Nisqually's fisheries department as the main man in charge there. Great relationship with WDFW and the co-managers. This is at a time when David is willing to come and sit amongst recreational folks. From his position where he's at and what he deals with day in and day out, he's going to come sit with the recreational folks, and we're going to have that candid conversation about fisheries management, Chinook recovery, Nisqually River, tribal gill nets, the whole deal. We're going to talk about this stuff in a public forum, also streaming it live for folks to weigh in on. But he is that caliber of an individual who I have the utmost respect for, and he's a very, very intelligent man. It's going to be a great conversation, Barnum. I think you're going to enjoy it. We have a lot of questions to ask him, and I think it's going to open your eyes by the time we're done with him. As I mentioned before, David Stormer, who is the Puget Sound Fisheries Manager for all Puget Sound, if we get an extension on Area 9 for Saturday, he's going to be...
We did have a comment from Gabe Miller that said that he had heard that Saturday is already out of the question.
Oh, is that right?
So, yes.
Okay, so Gabe would know. My messages aren't coming up. So Gabe would definitely know. He's pretty much connected with all that. So if that's the case, I think we can count on the third David, Stormer, joining us to talk about salmon recovery in Puget Sound. And basically where things are going, what some of the goals are, how do we balance this fickle beast that is Puget Sound Chinook recovery. Are we going to be in time to save the orcas? Are we going to be able to offset, some of these woes in our fishing? I mean, there's a whole lot going on there. They're enthusiastic about what they're seeing so far this year on the front edge of this return for the fall Chinook fishery, albeit the seasons were set and we have very limited opportunity in some areas. Other areas we have some days we can fish, some days we can't. I mean, we had a whole mix of different regulations thrown at Puget Sound for this fall season relative to Chinook that we hadn't seen before. So what does that mean for next year? This forecasted return of all these coho is pretty exciting when you start thinking about coho as a 3-year fish, Chinook as a 4-year fish predominantly. We're getting a lot of 3-year-olds this year. Great. That 4-year class of fish, which should be much larger, bodes well, especially if we start seeing high jack numbers.
I keep hearing reports from just about every estuary of a lot of small Chinook, which I think is an indicator of what's out there in the ocean. I mean, you have a lot of small Chinook sneaking their way in with these coho that are coming, and I think that is going to be a direct indicator that there's a lot of fish out there.
And on the other side of that, a lot of big Chinook. Buoy 10 is kicking out a lot of big Chinook. We'll talk to Austin Mosier later on in the show, get a Buoy 10 update. We're going to talk Willapa later on in the show because that thing's starting to take off. We're going to get you squared away on little different comparison on some ideas for rigging. Biggest thing you battle there is, of course, the grass. But the Saturday show down at Sportco, we're running out of time. Make sure whatever else you're doing, just go ahead and cancel. Show up and come see us because it's going to be a good time. We got a lot of good information going down. Great cooking segment by Chef and Sherry, and there's going to be a couple that get their raffle tickets selected, get to sit down at the table, and while they cook that, and when they're done, they're getting served up plate to get to eat and enjoy what it is that chef is cooking on that day. And it's going to be some salmon, crab, some magic is what it's going to be, right? So double duty for chef this week, double duty for all of us. Quick reminder before we jump out for a break, go to our Facebook page, look at our swag photo album. We have hats, shirts, t-shirts, hoodies, decals. Getting more decals ordered. People are asking for them. We've been shipping out a lot of them. So yeah, a couple different styles of hats. We're getting more hats ordered as well. Very reasonably priced.
Yeah.
We're blowing this stuff out, not making any money on it. Just want to get our brand out there. You can help us by getting our swag out there as you wear it. Whether you're out fishing, hunting, crabbing, doing whatever, or just enjoying a day out somewhere and about, wear the FHN logo and wear it proudly. So,
yeah.
Got anything else?
Nope. Just want to wave to, I think it's Tim Sorrells, keeps questioning whether we're actually live. Tim, we are actually live.
Oh, hey, Tim, we're live. Yeah,
we are live.
Yeah, we're good.
This is a live show. This is not recorded.
It's a live show. All right, real good. We are going to jump out for a break. We come back. A friend of ours, Terry Rudnick, is going to get in studio with us here. Terry runs a fantastic annual event out there in front of his place over here in Area 13 of Puget Sound. Breakfast on the Beach. It's a fundraiser that he's established since 2012. He's raised $80,000 towards Pancreatic Cancer Research.
Right.
It's a great event. We're going to dig into that. Terry's going to tell you all the reasons why he does it and how you can get involved this year. You still got time. It's coming up on the 24th. Terry Rudnick, we come back right here on FHN.
At metal supermarkets, we understand your need for fast access to a wide variety of metals, so we've made it easy. Our network of stores carries a wide variety of metal in all different types, shapes, sizes, and grades, with no required minimum order size. Who could ask for more? Simply tell us your dimensions online, on the phone, or in store, and we'll cut or process the metal to your desired size, often while you wait. We offer same-day service and can deliver the metal right to your door or job site. We even source hard-to-find metals, so no matter what you're looking for, metal supermarkets can provide it for you. And we're conveniently located with brick-and-mortar stores in Seattle and Portland, so you can check out our extensive stock for yourself. Superior customer service is guaranteed. Quality service from real people who know metal. We are the small quantity metal experts. To place an order, simply call a store to talk to one of our knowledgeable customer service representatives. Fill out a quote request online, order off of our e-commerce website, or visit one of our many locations and pick out the metal you want. Whether you're a small or large business, government, homeowner, or hobbyist, we make it easy for you to buy the exact metal and just the amount you need. We've been doing this for over 30 years, so we know how to get it done. Metal Supermarkets, the convenience stores for metal. Visit or call a metal supermarket store near you today.
Hey, welcome back to Fish Hunt Northwest, New England, the Barnum, and of course our in-studio guest, Terry Rudnick. How you doing?
I'm good.
Nice to see you. Been a while, man.
Yes, it has.
Yeah, look like you're doing good.
Yeah, hanging in there.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get into fishing Area 13 here in a little bit, but before we get there, I really want to kind of cover your annual event that you've been doing since 2012.
Yes.
Right? And this year it's August 24th.
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
Right. So
number 8.
Yeah, breakfast on the beach. So you got a really nice place over there. Just the other side of Johnson Point, isn't it?
No, just down Boston Harbor.
Boston Harbor, that's where that, yeah.
This side of Johnson Point.
Okay.
The Olympia side, I should say.
So, breakfast on the beach, how'd you come up with this?
Well, my wife gets most of the credit.
Okay.
Not me. I appreciate what you said earlier, but it's more her than me.
Right.
Back in 2012, the South Puget Sound chapter, Puget Sound Anglers, moved their derby from Hood Canal to South Puget Sound.
Right.
And when we got wind of that, several months before, Roberta and I think we were talking one morning, looking out the window at the water, and she said, we got to do something in conjunction with that, like maybe serve lattes on the beach. I thought, yeah, that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
She just got a new latte machine, so she thought that'd be pretty, this is all just really unfolding. And so, I said, yeah, maybe we ought to do that. Maybe make a few bucks. And she says, yeah, well, why don't we make it a fundraiser for something instead of making a few bucks? Oh, okay. There goes that new mooching rod I was thinking about, And so,
fundraiser.
I said, yeah, you're right again, honey.
Yeah.
And so it kind of evolved from, if we're going to do lattes, why don't we just do breakfast? Why don't we really go whole? So the next thing we knew, we were planning a fundraiser breakfast, and we thought, well, what better thing to give the money to than to Virginia Mason's Pancreatic Cancer Research Foundation,
right?
As kind of a payback,
right,
for them keeping me around for the last 15 years,
right,
which is the simplistic way to look at what's happened here.
Yeah,
I probably wouldn't even be around here talking to you.
Right.
And so, let's do it. And so the first thing I did was plan who I'm going to fish with in the Derby, so I can get out of the way and let Roberta do this thing. And I got away with that, believe it or not. So I went fishing, and I pulled out, and during the course of that first morning, I'm looking in toward the beach, and every once in a while I'd see a boat. We were calling it a fisherman's breakfast at that point. But we had notified, we'd put up some posters, she'd sent out some notices to some of her clients and so forth. So we really didn't have any idea what to expect.
Sure.
So she bought supplies for 200 people. And I think we had 70 or something like that.
Right.
So I was eating leftover eggs and stuff for the rest of that summer and on into fall.
Yeah.
The whole time I'm thinking, as we're fishing, we're going by looking, thinking, boy, this is a bust. This isn't doing very well. What I didn't know was the number of walk-ins and drive-ins, friends, relatives, neighbors, stuff like that who were showing up.
Okay.
And they were up on the deck, eating away, but 5, 6, 8 of them at a time.
Sure.
So the thing didn't really look busy, but there was a constant turnover.
Nice.
And when the dust finally settled, we were hoping to at least make some money over expenses.
Yeah.
I think she spent about $1,000 for food and things for the deal. Right. And we ended up making about $6,000 that first time. And so we were elated. We thought that was great. So we did it again the next year, and it grew a little, and it grew a little, and it grew a little. And then the last Derby was 2015.
Right.
So we had 4 derbies to do this thing in conjunction with. And then we had to ask ourselves, do we do this again? Are people going to show up the way? And we thought, again, based on the number of walk-ins we get, maybe it'll be negligible, the drop in fishermen. And we held our own in 2016. It wasn't great, but I think it was about the same as it had been the year before, maybe a little lower. Then it jumped up to, I think we made about $9,000 in No, that was, I take it back. In 16, we made about $9,000,
Okay.
which is what we made the year before. But with the whole time I'm thinking, these fishermen still really aren't doing, aren't providing a big portion of that,
Sure.
of what we're making. And again, I want this to be a fisherman's breakfast as much as anything else.
Yeah.
But most of these fishermen, like I say, they're saving up for a new downrigger or something. So they come in and make the minimum donation for breakfast.
Yeah.
So in 17, I finally decided we got to do something about this. Guys pulling in a $30,000 boat, giving us $7 for breakfast.
Right.
And so we started the raffle idea, hoping that would, again, the way we worked it, we upped the minimum donation to $10, first of all, and then for every $10 they donate, they get a raffle ticket.
Oh.
And that first year, just like in subsequent years, we've had some great donations for prizes. Josh at Scotty was one of the first that you need a downrigger for that thing, and you betcha.
Yeah, because I got like 12 guys that pull up here every year, and they're always saving up for a downrigger. So.
Yeah, there you go. That's right.
So,
we want that money.
Yeah, absolutely.
So he donated on 11/16, I think it was, on a 2-rod holder kind of a thing.
Right.
Of course, the person who won it didn't even have a boat.
That's the way it works.
That's the way it goes.
It was on eBay the next day.
But with those kind of things, we had a G. Loomis 1084C, $400 rod or something like that Bruce Holt from Shimano. G. Loomis gave us, and we had a nice bunch of prizes, and it worked. Fishermen who had been paying, $7 were now handing us $100 bill to get their 10 raffle tickets and try to win some of that good stuff.
Good for you.
So the raffle grew from there. Last year we made $13,000 in 17. Last year we made $27,000.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Testament to the raffle.
Yeah, the raffle was a big part of that.
What kind of prizes do you have lined up for this year?
Boy.
You got some good stuff.
Yeah, we've got some good stuff. Geez, I'm just going to rattle off some things and hope I don't forget too many important ones. But, for example, Cabela's is kicking in a bunch of good stuff, a fish cleaning table, a couple of nice big tackle bags, several other things. A lot of things like knives, pliers, and stuff like that we'll use for last year. We had a what we call the fisherman's grab bag bucket. We had a 5-gallon Cabela's bucket, one of those neat rope bucket, the good boat buckets with a rope on top and a handle on the bottom, so you don't lose them. Every time you stick them in the water. And that thing was chock full of stuff.
Right.
We had mustad hooks and things like that. We had jigs from Tom's Outboard. We had knives and files and fish clubs, and the thing filled up. A lot of stuff from Gold Star, Kelly Morrison up there gave us
Gold Star,
Silverhorn Gold Star gave us a bunch of good stuff.
Nice.
Plus a couple of catch coolers. He's doing the same thing this year.
Oh, good.
We got a couple of catch coolers and some little tackle kits. They were like 5 or 6. A couple of spoons. One's plugs. One's ace high flies, and then a Silverhorn T-shirt in there with that packet. It's kind of a neat little thing.
And you got some hunting stuff too this year.
So, we got hunting stuff.
Yeah.
Probably the top hunting thing we've got is a 2-day guided wild turkey hunt over in Eastern Washington with Richard Mann, who's a former Fish and Wildlife enforcement officer and an officer in the National Wild Turkey Federation.
Right.
He's going to take somebody over there, and their choice whether they hunt this fall hunt or whether they do a spring gobbler hunt with them next spring.
Real nice.
Yeah.
You posted a picture of a wood carving of a salmon that's painted hanging off of your place.
But that actually isn't wood. That's I call it the tin trout.
Oh, I thought it was it's painted wood. Okay.
It's painted metal. It's about 42 inches long. It's a nice big fish replica, if you will, but it's hand painted. We've got one hanging in our gazebo, and we've got one exactly like it that we're giving away for a prize. Yeah, all the stuff isn't fishing oriented or fisherman oriented.
Right.
We're gonna have all the fishing stuff down on the beach on tables right there where people come in to get breakfast. They can get out of the boat and wander around, look around, see where they want to put their tickets. There'll be a little bucket for every item. But then up on the deck, we're gonna have raffle part 2 thing going on.
You have all these items that are donated, all these prizes people get to win. You take your $10 ticket and you put it in a bucket in front of this item that you want.
Yep.
And then you draw one ticket out of there, and that ticket wins that item, and this ticket wins that item.
Yeah. Or
gotcha.
You can give us $200, get 20 of them, and put them all on the same thing.
Right.
But yeah, however you want to work it.
Gotcha.
The fella who won last year, we had a tuna trip for 2. We had 2 of them actually. Kerry Allen donated one.
Oh, he did.
And All Rivers donated one.
Mark did too.
Mark did.
Nice.
Yeah, boy, he came around and said, "How about a tuna trip?" And I just lit up. I thought maybe we'll get a salmon or a bottomfish trip.
Yeah.
He says, "How about a tuna trip for 2?" Yeah,
that's pretty
and
awesome.
So the guy who won that donated $1,000. He's an old friend of mine, and he donated $1,000. He said he wanted 80 of his 100 raffle tickets to go on that tuna trip, and he won it.
Stacking the deck.
He had like half of the tickets in that thing, so he had a pretty good shot at it. Yeah, but we got dinner at our house. We got a salmon dinner for 4. We call it sunset dinner on the deck.
Nice.
As one of the real popular prizes.
Yeah.
A friend of Roberta's, my wife, who was the brains of this operation, Deb Jackson, started right after last year's derby or last year's event, and did this fishing quilt. Mm-hmm. It's a cool little. I may try to sneak some raffle tickets in on that for that myself.
So you talked about the folks showing up on the door side, street side.
Yeah.
But for folks out on the water in their boat, literally pull it up on the beach.
Yeah.
Park it on the beach right in front of your place, right?
We've got a big purple banner in front of our house, because we've got a yellow house with a purple banner right there in one of the more popular fishing spots. We're located about halfway between Big Fish Trap and Little Fish Trap on Dana Passage. So that's where fishermen congregate. We had about like 80 boats out there last year on the day of the event. Yeah. And what the fishermen do with this big breakfast sign that hangs there, we've got my cell number and Roberta's cell number right there. So if they want to call in 10 minutes early, fish another 10 minutes, put your order in. Wow. Pull up, somebody will come out. If you got a big, nice boat that you don't want to pull up on their gravel, some of the folks got chest waders on. It's nice weather. We might be lucky and have a couple of Virginia Mason nurses in their swimsuits. Who knows? It's all kinds of things have happened over the years. They come out, hand you your breakfasts, whatever it is. Take your donation.
Give you your raffle
and then if they can't get out of the boat because they're in a big boat, say, what do you want? We'll hand them their raffle tickets and let them have them write their name and phone number on them. Right. You don't have to be present to win. We have the drawing after the breakfast is over, and say, where do you want us to put them? And we'll put 5 here, 4, and whatever they want us to do.
You guys have thought of every element to this thing. You make
it's a machine.
Easy.
Yeah, it works. It works out pretty well.
How many people helping you out with this?
No, geez.
It's not just you and Roberta.
It varies. We've got a core of about a dozen volunteers who show up every time, and then lots of others come and go during the thing. But there's probably 15, 18 people working at all times. We've got my barbecue is the sausage cooker,
right?
So we got a friend out there just making sausages all morning. Roberta and some of her friends are doing the baking. One of the popular items is this egg casserole she makes. It's got green peppers in it and stuff. And I hate green peppers, but I eat the heck out of this stuff. This is and about 10 people every year ask for the recipe. They won't leave until they get the recipe for that egg casserole. We did 111 breakfasts last year.
Holy cow.
In 4.5 hours from 7:30 to noon.
That's pretty good.
At the end of the thing, when the dust settled, I said, well, honey, how can we make it bigger next year? And she said, the only way we're going to make it bigger is you buy me a second oven. 111, it turns out to be about the max that we can do in 4.5 hours.
Let's hope you get over 20,000 this year, bump you over 100,000 total.
It would be fantastic.
Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah. So people want to look for the Yellow House on on Dana Passage.
Right.
If they're coming by land, it's the address is 8621 Island View Drive, Northeast, and that's area code 98206. If they're using their GPS to get there, come in there and please just park smart. We only got room for about 12 cars down in our driveway, so get creative. Park up. We asked the neighbors next door if we can have our overflow on some of their place up there, and they say yes.
Nice.
So come any way you want to. Hitchhike in, drive in, come by boat.
All right, we'll get your information posted up on our Facebook page with your address.
Great.
Make sure people are able to then put that in their phones and find their way to your house, or else come in on the water side and pull up to the dock and have a nurse come serve you some hot breakfast.
There you go. Can't miss it from the water.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, you're doing a great job with that. Very happy for you guys and all that you've accomplished and the monies that you've raised for cancer research. Again, that is August 24th. What time? Start time?
Saturday, August 24th from 7:30 to noon.
7:30 till noon. 7:30 till noon. Okay, fantastic. We're going to jump out for a break. Don't go anywhere, Terry. We come back. There's a lot of folks who have kind of started paying a little more attention south of Area 11, focusing on Area 13. We've kind of seen a resurgence in bait and healthy status of the waters out here in Area 13 over the last few years. You can attest to that. There are some keys to success in Area 13, knowing where to be and when, knowing if you should be trolling or jigging. Do you dare use bait? Do we have a dogfish issue? All kinds of great questions folks have. Don't go anywhere. If you want to understand what you're doing wrong or why you're not finding success in Area 13, David, stay tuned. Terry's going to give you all that information when we come back right here on FHN.
You have to take shots like this.
Come out to break a night, and the pink skies waving goodbye. She come out to break a night, leaving no traces around. She's trying to free a reckless heart. She's trying to be as light as a breeze. Queen of art, Friday morning. Queen of art, Friday morning. like the night you'll be wearing her charms so free. Yes, she's trying to avoid everyone.
Hey, welcome back to Fish on Northwest. Dwayne England, the Barnum, and of course Terry Rudnick back with us, staying with us. Terry, you can hold no secrets, right? This is full on. The door is locked. You're not getting out of here to divulge all information.
All information.
Isn't that right, Barnum?
Yes.
Area 13. Gosh, you've been fishing it forever. You've written tons of information about it. I've read a lot of your stuff over the years when you were writing saltwater articles for Salmon Steelhead Journal, and a handful of other articles over the years. Really, really good, insightful stuff. But even so, guys, read your information. You try to apply what you read and go out there and, get going in Area 13. And I mean, for guys that have been fishing a long time, you kind of have it figured out. For me, I've been out there now 4 years and kind of grinding it out, find fish here and there, but nothing consistent. I don't know if it's at times a lack of fish, which I think at times it is.
Yep.
Or if it's just, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So it's interesting in the different options you have out there. Areas you can fish, tides obviously like any other Puget Sound fishery. Should I be jigging? Should I be trolling? Should I use bait? Give us some of the go-tos that, if the fish are around, this is probably going to get it done for you.
Okay. Well, first of all, I have days like you have too, out there, just like everybody else.
Right.
It's not like it's a done deal for anybody. There are some guys out there who do well more often than they don't. But yeah, this year it's been waiting for the fish to show up.
Sure.
As much as anything. I think I mentioned to you before, I caught a couple of nice fish on June 21st.
Early.
Ocean fish.
Right.
And that's a month earlier than I've ever caught an ocean fish before. And I thought, hey, they're right this time. It's really it's gonna be an improvement run size wise over last year. I didn't catch another one until this week. So I did kind of get sidetracked during much of that time fishing for resident coho. In my defense, and caught quite a few of them.
Sure.
It's like fishing anywhere else. You got to plug away at it a little bit and to start getting the patterns. Of course, then the patterns change. But you're right. Jigging and trolling are both real popular out there. Jigging more so. When I first started fishing out there, when I moved out there in when was it, 2000, it was mostly jigging, a jigging show. And I'll be honest with you, I was surprised that Chinook fishery was even happening right there in front of that house when I bought it. I was more excited about the coho fishery because the guy I bought the house from said he stood on that boat ramp and hooked as many as 13 coho in one evening. So I didn't ever have any 13 coho evenings out there.
He was trying to sell a house,
How many coho you want to catch? He knew I was a fisherman. So we'll take it. But that summer, I started noticing fishermen out there catching fish, and they were jigging. And then I met Tom Turnbow of Tom's Outboard, who grew up there. I mean, he'd been fishing there longer than any of us. And got talking to him about it. Why do you jig mostly? Because I'm out there trying to fish bait, catching dogfish, and he said because when you use bait, you catch dogfish. And he was right. And dogfish can be a terrible, terrible problem out there. So most of the guys fish jigs. I was probably 3 or 4 years out there before I noticed a couple of trollers were catching fish too. And I was jigging out there with the rest of the guys and not doing all that well. And I wasn't that surprised at that because jigging, you ask any serious jigger, and one of the things you look for when you're a jigger is concentrations of fish.
Right.
So you can get on top of them, watch them on your electronics, and know you've got fish under you. Whether it's on a brake line where they're kind of stacked out along this way, or whether they're on bait in one particular spot. When you've got fish, that's when jigging. Those are optimal conditions for jigging, and that isn't really the case there because these fish are pretty much moving. I mean, they'll kind of, I don't think they stack up in Dana Passage as much as fresh fish keep coming in once they start coming.
Sure.
And yet, there are enough fish typically when things are going well that the jiggers do just fine.
Sure.
And they don't have to mess with dogfish as much.
Right.
You'll still catch dogfish on jigs, of
and
course.
Flounder.
It's not, they're not, and everything else,
Right.
but they're not dogfish proof by any means. But I've been jigging since the late 70s, and quite frankly, my jigging arms are starting to give out. I have tendonitis every summer by the end of summer, when I've been jigging a lot. So about 5 years ago, I pretty well converted over to trolling, and was kind of eager to do it anyway and see, because again, if you're after moving fish, you're going to find a lot more of them if you're moving yourself, and trolling allows you to do that. So I've been a troller for the most part for about the last 5 or 6 years out there, and now it's probably, rather than 95% jiggers, it's probably more like 70-30 jiggers over trollers. If a troller or two does really well on a particular morning, that ratio will change. Of course, other people will see, and hey, well, geez, let me
get on the troll.
And so but overall, it's probably 2/3 jiggers and 1/3 trollers or something.
What tactics have you applied then to deal with the dogfish? How are you avoiding dogfish being a problem now?
Well, most of the time I'm not trolling with bait. Okay. So I've always been kind of a spoon guy. I mean, I've caught fish on ace high flies and hoochies and stuff, but not so much there for whatever reason. Maybe it's because I don't use them as much as I do the other stuff. But I've kind of settled into a pattern of fishing spoons behind flashers, and it works just fine. Keeps the dogfish numbers down, although you'll catch them on spoons too, especially if you use something stinky on there to
What's a couple of your go-to spoon color patterns or size?
The first spoon I caught fish on out there, it ended up being a good producer for a couple of years, was the old coyote, that chartreuse coyote spoon. Yeah. But coyote spoons aren't what they were a few years ago. They're not Maidenhood River anymore, and there's a difference. Luckily, during my pro staff days with Lord Jensen, I spent a lot of my tackle on coyote spoons. So I have a supply, and someday I'm going to break them out and start selling them for about $35 a piece. But coyotes, the old style coyotes, were just great out there.
I can't get my hands on those, with modern spoons that we have access to. What about out of your Silver Horde lineup?
But that's what I'm using most of the time now. I'm using the old coho killers, when there's a lot of anchovies in the stomachs of the fish, like there are now, have been, I like coho killers a lot, but my preferred spoon is the
Kingfisher?
Oh, geez, thank you. Brain just turned into
Kingfisher?
butter. Yeah, Kingfishers. The 3.5s for the most part. I like the cookies and cream and the Irish cream finishes. Right. Both of those have luminescent bellies on them, so I'm especially religious about using those early and late in the day, first hour or so.
With that glow?
With that glow. Yep. I'd flash them up and get them down there. Of course,
you're running your flashers with glow and UV, or do you just stick with UV flashers? Or
a little bit of both.
I kind of tend to lean towards, it depends on the day. Like if we got an overcast day or it's cloudy and just not really bright, and I'm fishing 150 feet or deeper, I'm probably running a UV and a glow combo. But if it's a sunny day and I'm in shallower water, I'm probably just going UV. It just depends.
Yeah, well, that's pretty much the strategy, except I'm never fishing 150 feet of water.
Right. Not there.
The guys fishing deep are fishing 60 to 80.
Right.
I'm usually fishing 30 to 40.
Which I think surprises a lot of people. Because, I mean, we're up there at Area 10. I'm grinding it out at, 140 to 160, 180. If you're lucky, you can find them inside at, 120. It's pretty common depths up there, and you're finding the bait kind of, all funneled up in there. You come down here, 40 to 60 feet.
I'll pretty typically start my day, my first pass or two, at 25 to 30 feet.
No kidding.
Yeah. I've caught fish occasionally as shallow as 15.
That is crazy.
The shallow stuff. Yeah. And those were kind of by accident because I was trying to fish 2 downriggers by myself and had one had something go to hell and end up in 15 feet of water with the other one kind of limping along, and all of a sudden the rod's going down.
That's funny. Good point. Not to interrupt you there, but you just said fishing by yourself, and Area 13, 2-rod endorsement, much like Willapa. Only area in Puget Sound you're going to get that is down here in 13 to get that 2-rod endorsement, which is nice for like me if I get my dad to go out and we're fishing 3 rods. Just spread it out a little more and more opportunity.
Exactly right. So that's exactly the way I do it when I'm fishing with some of my buddies too. When it's just Roberta and I usually go 2 rods. She loves to run the boat and net fish. Luckily for me, So I'm fishing both of my rods out there while she runs the boat. But I start out shallow and I work my way out deeper. I seldom fish deeper than 50 myself. But because sometimes there's bait in there that shallow too, and so that's kind of how I got in the habit of I'm running over bait in 12, 15, 18 feet of water to go out and fish 40. Wait a minute, why don't I just hang a left here and troll parallel?
I think that's probably one of the biggest takeaways here is you start dissecting 13 is to say, you never find yourself in anything deeper than 50 feet. That is not commonly said throughout other parts of Puget Sound, right?
No.
So that's kind of an anomaly down here in 13. The other thing, last year, we started finding great success jigging these things up in 35 feet of water. We're finding fish on our electronics just piled up, just all stay. Look like a school of kokanee, only they're a lot bigger.
Perfect jigging situation, absolutely.
35, you kill the motor, put it in reverse, hold it over the spot for a little bit, let it settle.
Jiggle that jig until one of them can't take it any longer.
It was a pretty quick hookup repeatedly once you would find that scenario in that depth, drop down, not a lot of blowback, not a lot of wind, just kind of hovering over it and make it happen. It worked well.
Well, you talked a little bit about bait before we totally get off of the subject. The last couple of years, dogfish haven't been as big a problem. We're kind of back to the bad old days again this year. It's like it was, like it used to be. But the last couple of years, we've gotten off kind of lucky, and I have been able to fish some bait, herring and helmet, and stuff like that, and done pretty well. Pretty typically, I would, fish bait on one rod and a spoon on the other. And, some days one was working and one wasn't. But usually it was 50-50 or more or less. This year, again, I started trying to do that, and I quickly learned if you're going to fish bait, if you're going to troll bait out there, don't start from a dead stop. Don't put your bait down and then start going. You be going at trolling speed when you let that bait out, or dogfish is going to have it every time before you even get going. And then when I do, I still play around with bait a little bit, when I feel a little nervy. I'm trolling maybe a knot faster than I would too.
Keep it up a little bit,
Trying to keep it up a little bit.
So let me ask you this, you're in 50 foot of water. You're in 45 foot of water. You fishing these critters like blackmouth right on the deck, or you 10
much.
feet up? Or?
If I'm within 2 or 3 feet of it, at least the ball is. And so pretty much right. Now and then, you'll have a day where you're marking quite a few suspended fish, and if I'm fishing 2 rods, I'll keep one down there, and then I'll run one at mid depth or something like that, and pick up a fish that way once in a while. But most of the time, I'm on the deck.
How heavy a jig if you find yourself jigging? Depends on the current.
That all depends on the current. Some guys like to jig in the heavy current.
I'm not one of those.
I'm not one of those either. The jigs are meant to drop vertically through the water, go horizontal, and that's when they look like food, is when they're in this position. Not when they're in this position. Or in this position out here 50 feet away from the boat. You know, when you're jigging diagonally, you're not jigging very effectively. I'm all for, you know, keeping that thing straight up and down. Well, if it's like the tides we've had here, you know, earlier this week,
big tides.
In order to do that, you're either going to have to back into it, or you're going to have to fish a 5-6 ounce.
If I'm having to work that hard on my jig and running my kicker to stay on it,
exactly.
I'd rather troll.
That's the time to do something different. That's exactly my philosophy.
Before we get out of here, what's your preference? Incoming, outgoing? 2 hours before either side. What's most of the areas you're trolling?
As a general rule, I'm fishing the incoming. I'm more optimistic if I'm fishing an incoming tide, but there are places that fish better on the ebb. If I had to pick one time a day that I could fish, and only one time a tide, it would probably be low slack and the first hour and a half of the flood.
Gotcha.
That's probably as productive as any. That's when a lot of guys go home.
Yeah.
Too. They don't hang in there through that tide change.
That's what I like to look for.
Yeah.
That is what I will.
When I see them disappearing, and I see, geez, it's going to be low tide at 11 o'clock, and only half the boats are here.
Good.
I launch. You know. Have things to myself.
Things are going to start happening. Where are you going? Right. Well, good information there, man. Hopefully, you guys took away some things there, some key points. Interesting. You got to fish it a little different down here in 13. It isn't like everywhere else in Puget Sound, is one thing I learned in the last couple of years of putting in time out here. So it's a fun fishery. It's typically not real crowded, and when the fish are here, it can be pretty doggone good. So
it'll be very good.
Terry, really appreciate you coming in tonight. Great info on both accounts. August 24th again for breakfast on the beach. Let's raise some money for Pancreatic Cancer Research and support Terry and his family and all their efforts of what they got going on. Okay, we are going to jump out for a break. Barnum, when we come back, we're going to jump into the Bay Lab. Yep. We're going to kind of go over a little bit of how-to on rigging for Willapa. If you've never fished it, you're missing out. One thing you're not missing out on is the grass. It's a pain in the grass. And we're going to talk about a few ways to manage your gear and work around that grass and, you know, keep your gear fishing, because if you're fishing with grass, you're not fishing. We're going to show you how to avoid that. So we'll jump out for a break. When we come back, we're dissecting Willapa. When we come back right here on FHN. Hey, welcome back to FHN. Me and the Barnum are here in the bait lab. Dude, we're going to talk a little bit about Willapa.
Home waters.
For you, especially, and one that I've actually, made an effort to show up on the last couple of years and have found moderate success for, again, anytime you take on a new fishery and need to learn it, there's some things that apply, that cross over. We're going to talk about gear that's very applicable to what's going on in Buoy 10 right now.
Right.
If you're out in Puget Sound fishing coho, this is something that people actually do with lead droppers and inline fish flash. So there's a lot of things here that are applicable to other fisheries. The biggest point of contention in Willapa, the biggest frustration is the damn grass.
Right. So the thing people have to understand about Willapa, it is one of the largest oyster producers in the world. I think it's 1 in every 6 oysters in the world consumed comes out of Willapa.
Yeah.
So the grass that you have is from the mechanical harvesting and the mechanical maintaining of those oysters. Eel grass grows in the oyster beds.
Sure.
The oyster farmers go out there, they drag harrows, they drag their dredge bags, and they rip all that grass out.
Right.
And so that grass ends up, what's it do? It goes out into the bay, and then on your tides, basically, during your slack waters, it tends to spread out, and during your better tides or during your ebb and your flood, it seams up and gets on those seams. And when it's on the seams, it's super easy to deal with. You avoid it.
You're right.
Right.
You see an island of grass floating that's like a mile long, you just steer clear.
Yes, and some of those islands, I mean, you think you could get out and walk on.
Oh my God.
I mean, literally, if you screw up and get your gear through it, I mean, you have trouble retrieving your gear because it pulls so hard.
Do you think the grass is harder to fish if we have a really moderate to minimal tide? In other words, it doesn't really flood in or flow out. It doesn't have a lot of water moving, so that grass just kind of stays everywhere. Or you know what I mean?
For me, I think the one thing I've noticed when I really struggle with grass is when there's wind. Right. The wind starts to push that grass and spread it out off of those seam currents, and that's when I tend to have more trouble with grass and get really frustrated with grass.
Right.
So the important thing to remember when fishing Willapa, because of the grass, it's not like, oh, I had a day where there's no grass. No, every day is going to have grass.
You can't avoid it.
And realistically, the difference between the guys that are consistently catching fish and the guys that aren't catching fish are the guys that are willing to put in the work to keep their gear clean, to make sure they're presenting how the fish flash and the bait is meant to be presented. I always tell everybody, whether you're fishing grass or not, if you always let that bait down into the water a little bit, see the action of your plug cut herring or your super bait or whatever you're running, see how it's working. If it's not working to your standards, pull it out and fix it. Maybe toss it and cut a new bait if you can't get to work. Don't fish a bait that's not fishing.
If you can see before you put it out, you're not fishing.
Right. And so for me,
or when you're dropping that down in and you're trolling along and you're watching your herring spin and all of a sudden it gets a couple or 2 pieces of grass hanging in front of it, and you're like, good enough. That herring is not going to get bit with grass draped on it that you saw before you send it down. So clean gear, clean bait, good spin, and then it's a battle of constantly keeping your gear clean by checking it. Talk us through your process.
Here's my routine for Willapa. Normally, because of the 2-rod endorsement, my youngest son, I'll get the 2-rod endorsement, he'll get the 2-rod. So even if it's only 2 of us, we're fishing 4 rods. And so basically what we do is somebody goes designated driver, and they're going to drive the boat. And whoever's working the rods, if I have more people in the back, great, because it is exhausting.
Oh my God.
But by the time I'll start rod number 1, get it out, make sure it's fishing good, get it in the rod holder, and work my way through 4 or maybe 5 rods. And then immediately upon finishing that 4th or 5th rod, I go back to my first rod and I crank it up and check it out. Now, if I'm seeing grass on that rod, even though it's only been in the water for 5 to 10 minutes, then I'm going to clean that rod, put it back, and go to rod number 2. And I'm going to start a rotation. And I'm going to continue that rotation on the entire trip until I start reeling in and noticing no grass. And then at that point, I'll give it a little longer.
And you're right, it's exhausting, it's a lot of work, but if you're trolling and you're not cleaning grass and running clean gear, you're trolling. You're not fishing, right?
And the other thing is, like we've talked about before, I'm a line angle guy. I'm going to set my speed depending on my current. I'm going to keep my line angles at, say, 45 degrees or whatever angle. And if I notice any rod is no longer at that angle and the other 2 or 3 rods that I'm fishing are at that angle, then I know that rod's fouled up and I need to clean it up.
Typically, it's going to lift and be at a steeper angle, longer out the back, and it's not at depth, and it's not rotating like it should.
Yes.
Talk about your typical setup,
right?
Of what you use out there,
so,
Harbor Boy and all.
So we and Dwayne talked about this before. He's going to show you some of the more kind of, I want to call it high-end fancy gear. and we only say that in Willapa because coming from a small community, small area, limited resources, we don't have a Cabela's, a Sportco, these places where we can go and get all the latest and greatest. So we're stuck basically trying to buy what the hardware store is going to supply.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm running braided. I'm running a 50-pound mainline braid. This is just, I actually think it's a splitter or spreader, whatever you want to call it. I actually think it's made for probably halibut fishing.
Right.
But that's what I use, and that'll go here. And then I'm just using Dacron on my dropper, and I'm using that as my line between my flasher and my spreader. Now, Dwayne, you're going to talk about more going into the monofilament, but for me growing up and all the years I spent, they don't sell 150-pound monofilament in Raymond.
Not the hardware store.
right. So we've went to Dacron. Yeah. I'm going to run that off this clip here. I always run 16 ounces, but Willapa is definitely a fishery where I'm rarely fishing over 24 feet deep, maybe 28 feet at the most.
Shallow water fishery.
Shallow water fishery. The estuary is very shallow to begin with, but even on those lines where, even like, let's talk about washaway. At points in washaway, it's 100 feet deep.
Right.
Those fish will tend to stay on the edges of those channels and kind of stay in that 24 to 28 foot line, and that's where I want to be. And so I'm running a 12 to 14, 16 inch dropper, and most of the time, I'm going to want to touch this on the bottom every now and then. And that's the point of the dropper, is that's going to give me a dropper on the bottom and my bait and flasher 18 inches off the bottom.
Right.
So when I drag bottom, I'm dragging bottom here, and I'm not dragging my bait on the bottom, which is going to keep me from ripping my herring off. And so basically for me on say 90% of the Willapa fishery, if I haven't seen that rod touch bottom in say a minute or two, then I need to let out some line. And I'm going to let out some line, see bottom touch, half a crank up. That way I know this is running, 6 to 8 inches off of bottom, and anytime there's a little hump, I'm going to see that little bounce. So, and that's the basic tactic off that. And then we're going to run about a 3.5 foot leader with a mooching rig and, a plug cut herring for the most part. Once in a while I'll mix that up with a whole herring. Just something different if the bite's slow.
It's a bait fishery. It's not a spinner fishery.
No.
I mean, you're just going to grab grass. So bait works so well out there, you don't want to use anything else. And I'll often, I'll have natural shiners brined up, and I'll bring some green or some chartreuse too, because the water's a little stained. It's not a clean running estuary. It's like most estuaries that are truly shallow estuaries. There's a lot of silt that gets stirred up,
A lot of silt.
So especially on these bigger tides, when that water's pushing, it churns that stuff up. Plus you got the oyster guys doing their thing. And that water all filters into that entire estuary, and it is stained up pretty well. So, bright UVs on your flashers, greens and chartreuses, and you've had good success.
Really good on this one. This is a new one I picked up last year, and it's been really effective to a point to where now I'm running a couple of those. Where usually I'm kind of where, let's mix our flashers and have 3-4 different colors running, but
if it's getting it done. Somebody was asking earlier if you run 360s out there. Not typically, because there's so much grass. The larger profile of loop and rotation your gear is presenting, the more grass you're going to encounter. If you're more directly behind the boat, which is like parting the seas at times and clearing some of that out, the back rods tend to fish a little cleaner than your side rods. That's almost a no-brainer because the boat is pushing the grass out of the way. If you want to try to deploy a 360 rotator out there, more power to you, but I just won't even give it a go, simply because it's not that it wouldn't. If there was no grass, it'd work fantastic, especially with the light penetration and the shallowness of the bay, right? But
one thing to remember with the grass cleaning that I sometimes forget because I get in a hurry, but as you're doing your rotation, always clean your front rods first. Because you're going to clean that and you're throwing that grass over the board. And I've done it myself where I just cleaned a back rod, now I pull the front rod and I throw the grass out and throw it right into the line on the back rod and go,
stupid. So only a couple differences here in this yuppie world we live in, and all this high-end fluent gear that I apparently purchased, So I do like to use the Yakama bait spreader bar as far as the way I rig my dropper. They came out with this a few years ago. It's nice because it slides, or you can make it fixed, either or. I basically put that in front of a couple beads to a chain swivel that then goes to my jumper. Now, I build these jumpers out of my 150-pound monofilament. I put clips on either side with barrel swivels and clamp those together with my crimp on that I use for my flashers, right? Same deal. And I make them 2 specific lengths, okay? I will actually make the jumper that goes between my flasher, make sure I don't get this screwed up, my flasher and my slider. That is a 20-inch piece right there, okay, if you can see that. And then the actual dropper is typically 16 inches. And the whole reason to go heavier gauge on this stuff, 1, is that you're going to make sure you're not losing gear. 2, it really helps with a stiffer line like this, bigger diameter, or the Dacron, from your gear getting all balled up and twisted up. When you get grass that builds up on these swivels and they no longer swivel, something has to spin. And when something has to spin and all your bearings and swivels are locked up by grass, your line begins to spin and twist. And the smaller diameter this stuff is, the bigger mess and headache you end up with. And it's a lot easier to disconnect all this stuff. Everything is modular. It all terminates with dual snaps or dual locks, okay? So you can pop these swivels off everything, you can disconnect and do all this without having to cut a bunch of line unless your braided line really gets balled up. But typically, because of the way we design this with a heavier gauge dropper, and out there, it's pretty much a mud bottom all the time. You seldom, if ever, get hung up. No, right? Hardly but ever. If you do, I do build into my breaking point on my lead, and I'll show you here. It's a very small size dual lock that if there's going to be a failure point on any of this, it's not going to be the 150 pound. It's not going to be these 300 pound freaking barrel swivels. It's going to be this little dual lock is going to just pull right out of there, and that weight's going to be left on the bottom, and you get all your gear back. So that's my breaking point if in fact it was to get hooked up. The other thing I like to do, a friend of mine a few years ago started showing me toothpicking out in front of your gear, and I've taken that and built it up a little bigger in that I take a regular size skewer, okay, and Barnum, I'm cutting those into about 2 3/4 of an inch. You get about 4 of them per stick, and simply by sliding a swivel up your line, and then you pin this peg through the swivel eye, and that just holds in place. Now that is the first thing that is getting drug out in front of all your gear, okay? So I'll show that out front here, David, if we can not get all balled up. So that is out in front of my slider, just like that. Now, that is not meant to just grab a salad bar and just keep trolling, right? That is simply meant to avoid getting all the grass down into your swivels and everything that's turning, okay? You can or choose not to use this, but for me, I've gone to pretty much pinning or pegging every one of my rods that I'm fishing. Again, we still do the check of rod after rod after rod clearing grass, especially if you drive through a ton of it and you can see it. But what this does is I can pull this up literally, and most of the time, most of the grass that I've encountered is hanging on this peg. And I don't have to worry about getting it out of all my swivels, all my clips, all this stuff here. Once it gets balled up in there, it's a little more work. If you're on top of your gear and you're doing your rotation, as Barnum stated, you can literally pull these up, take the salad bar off of your peg, toss it to the side, check your bait, drop it back down the water, make sure it's spinning good, isn't torn, and is a good looking bait on a drill bit, drop that sucker back down and get to fishing. So it's all about keeping your gear clean. And anything you can do that aids you in getting it cleaned quickly and back in the water, then you're back fishing.
That's the Willapa. Fish a good bait, fish a bright flasher, and stay out of the grass and keep the grass off the line. The peg's going to work really good because there's a lot of times where I'll reel in, we'll only have 1 or 2 blades of grass, maybe hanging from the flasher or hanging from the bait, where that would have been picked up by the peg. So, I mean, it's a great tactics. Like I said, hit those channel edges, focus on that 18 to 26, 24 feet of water and bounce those bottoms. Slow your troll speed down a little bit. I like to troll at a little slower speed. Slow it down a little bit, let those flashers work. Let them do their job. They're really aggressive kings out there, and they bite really well. And one thing I've noticed on Willapa compared to like the buoy tin fishery is you don't get the number of short bites. Normally when those fish come up, they're committed to it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So,
all right, well, that is pretty much going to do it for us in here. Did you look at the show sheet, see what we got going on next?
No, I didn't.
I think we got Austin Mosier.
We do have Austin.
we do have Austin Mosier.
Yep.
So we're going to jump out for a break. We come back. We're going to be back in studio. Get Austin Boom Pow Mosier on the phone for our Buoy 10 update. Fishing's been off and on. Today it sounded like it was more so on, and got some great crabbing accomplished as well.
Great
Double
pictures.
bonus day for him. So we'll jump out for a break. We come back. Austin Mosier right here on FHM.
At Metal Supermarkets, we understand your need for fast access to a wide variety of metals. So we've made it easy. Our network of stores carries a wide variety of metal in all different types, shapes, sizes, and grades, with no required minimum order size. Who could ask for more? Simply tell us your dimensions online, on the phone, or in store, and we'll cut or process the metal to your desired size, often while you wait. We offer same-day service and can deliver the metal right to your door or job site. We even source hard-to-find metals, so no matter what you're looking for, Metal Supermarkets can provide it for you. And we're conveniently located with brick-and-mortar stores in Seattle and Portland, so you can check out our extensive stock for yourself. Superior customer service is guaranteed. Quality service from real people who know metal. We are the small quantity metal experts. To place an order, simply call a store to talk to one of our knowledgeable customer service representatives. Fill out a quote request online, order off of our e-commerce website, or visit one of our many locations and pick out the metal you want. Whether you're a small or large business, government, homeowner, or hobbyist, we make it easy for you to buy the exact metal and just the amount you need. We've been doing this for over 30 years, so we know how to get it done. Metal Supermarkets, the convenience stores for metal. Visit or call a Metal Supermarket store near you today.
Wow.
Yeah, welcome back to FHN. We are scrambling to get back in our seats, get our earpieces in place so that we can hear the phone call that supposedly is going to happen. Isn't that right, David?
Yep, sir.
David does not help us with that. Going 10 seconds, 5 seconds.
Oh, you got 3 seconds. We're back in 3, 2, what? You guys aren't ready? Okay.
Oh, whoops.
Hey, Barnum, have you been paying attention to what's going on down there at Buoy 10?
Yeah.
You know what's
I try to watch Cody Herman's updates every day, and you know, just I don't know if I'll make it down. Work's so busy, but I like to know what's going on.
Yeah, I kind of like to keep up on it as well. I'm impressed with the number and size of the fish.
Yeah.
A lot of big fish coming in. I think that kind of caught a lot of folks by surprise. Some folks I've talked to have also said that, well, mixed in with that is a lot of smaller fish as well, so which is typical. But one guy that's been getting it done more days than not and is going to be down there for quite some time, our buddy Boom Pal himself, Austin Mosier's Austin Northwest Adventures. How you doing, buddy? Yellow. Is he there? Do I got it on?
I didn't hear him.
No, I didn't hear him either. David?
Hello.
Oh, there he is. I got you. Okay. You made it back in time. Nice. You back there at the old campground?
I am, yep. I just got my bait from Cracker Jack Bait Shop. Got bait prep all ready for tomorrow. And I'm really looking forward to the morning. There was a pretty good bite down here at Buoy 10 this morning. There's some big fish around this year. It's going to be, you're going to be seeing some really nice stuff coming out of this area.
Yeah.
So you guys are probably seeing pretty good action on that morning flood, right? You got a couple hours of the last couple hours of the incoming right after daybreak.
Yeah, and it, you know, it's been slow tide, so that means most of the day it's still kind of going out.
Right.
Or it comes in, you know, about half of my day it's coming in still, you know. So then it just barely starts to switch and we're finishing up. You know, it's these smaller tides like this, the fish are just kind of staying. They're holding. They're not really moving very fast. So
right.
You just keep bouncing back and jumping back through the school and stuff like that. So it's been a lot of fun. So
pretty much all Chinook so far. Not a lot of coho running in yet. Austin, what are you finding?
Yeah, that's kind of the consensus I've got from everybody. I haven't caught a coho yet, but I've talked to a few guys that have caught a few, but no big numbers of coho coming in yet. I would expect that to change on the next big tide set. We should start seeing some fish come in here in a week or so, and but there's been quite a few Chinook around. We're catching a lot of these 24, 25 inch Chinook, you know, but then all of a sudden, wham! You catch a 25-pound upriver bright, and life is good. So, yeah, looking forward to the coho coming. The ocean guys, they're killing it. That's the talk around town. The ocean is on fire when you're on it.
Right.
They're kind of spread out here and there, but when you get into a school of them, you know, you're quads, doubles, triples, until you get out of them, and then you troll around for 20, 30 minutes, and then you get back into them again. So that's everything that I've been hearing down here.
Right. Is most of your Chinook action, are you finding happening above the bridge or below the bridge, or is it just been kind of back and forth?
You know, there's been a lot of action above the bridge, and that's kind of where the whole fleet is really congregated right now, is above the bridge. So the bite can be really good when you first get started there, and then, you know, you get all this boat traffic in there. Well, then your boat's bouncing all around, and your rods are bouncing up and down, and so you're not fishing effectively on all your rods. It seems like your back rods are doing better than your side rods in the front, just because they're so bounced around. So today I kind of got out of the crowd, went and found some water all to myself, and it paid off for me. We caught some really nice fish.
Awesome.
I had maybe 3 or 4 boats around me.
Nice.
And you know, there was probably 150 boats above the bridge. So
Yeah, I think that's a really good bit of advice. I mean, people always talk about the combat fishing of Buoy 10, but, you know, you don't have to be in that crowd to catch fish.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And you know, the crowd, the people are there because there are fish there, but at the same time, there's fish in a lot of places. And if you can get away from that crowd and kind of find your own water and mark some fish and put it in front of the right fish, you're going to catch fish there too. These fish they're feeding, they're aggressive. If you can find them, you can catch them.
Yeah. You finding most of them right on the deck, or are you getting a few of them up suspended as well?
You know, I've been kind of playing around with that. You know, typically on the outgoing tide, I'm going to be hugging bottom hard. On the incoming tide, I'm going to be fishing suspended.
Yeah.
But, you know, when I'm fishing 50, 60 feet of water, I'm not really hugging bottom, only in a few different spots where I am fishing that depth that I actually try to find bottom. But most of the time I'm fishing that 20 to 40 foot range on my lead balls and in the deeper water. And then when I'm up on the sands, I'm usually targeting 20 to 40 feet of water. That's kind of my magic number. And, you know, I make a pass, see what happens. If I don't get them on that contour line, then I'll move over and go a little bit deeper. But generally, you know, that 30-foot line is the bread and butter that most people live on.
Yep.
So that's one of my favorite lines. I do like the 20-foot line. I can get out of all them boats that are on the 30-foot line.
Yeah.
And a lot of times where I fish on the sand, there's a scum line about the 30-foot line, so you end up running in and out of weeds all the time and stuff. So it's kind of nice to get away from that. But otherwise, it's been pretty good down here. Consistent fishing. Seems like, everybody from, weekend warrior guys and guys that are out here just on the weekend and guides and everybody is kind of catching fish, So
anchovies or herring? What's getting it done?
I go back and forth between that, So usually I'm a blue label, chunky, big blue label cut plug herring guy.
Yeah.
This year I can't get it to work.
Is that right?
As well as an anchovy. So I've been running anchovies. Today I switched over to pro trolled anchovies, and that works for me.
Oh.
Yesterday we did a lot of herring, a lot of anchovies and fish flash, but I just wasn't getting bit. And so today I changed it up and it worked.
Yeah. Good. Looks like you got a little bit of crabbing in too the last couple days as well. Looks like that's going pretty good.
Yeah, it's been tough for some people. For me, I got a pretty good spot, and we got 24 crab today out of 3 pots. I was pretty happy with that.
You think? Yeah.
It was my first pick of the year, actually. I just set them out a couple days ago, or not a couple days ago, yesterday, and today was my first pick on them, and we got 24 crab. I mean, there was 60 or 80 crab in the pot that we had to sort through and find those keepers, and it was pretty nice. My customers were pretty happy today. So.
Nice. Well, you got any openings coming up? I know you guys are pretty booked as far as you and a handful of other folks, but you got any openings folks can get a hold of you and try to get in your boat before the Chinook fishery's done?
Yeah, definitely. I know this is a little short notice, but I had a cancellation tonight for tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Barnum, what are you doing?
Roofing.
Barnum's building the house. Huh?
Drive down, you can camp out with me.
What do I got going on tomorrow? No, we got to go set up at Sportco for our weekend show, or I'd be all over it, buddy. No doubt about it. So looks like you're getting some nice upriver brights, got a nice mix of fish going on, and it'd be great for folks to take advantage of it. Come on down and hang with you and get opportunity to go after some of them big Chinook before it's all said and done.
Yeah, and I think my last 2 seats that I got available is the 18th of September. I got 2 seats available, just came available, and it's going to close on the 20th. So if you guys want to come down and catch some of these kings and get in on some of this crabbing and stuff like that, come on down.
Okay, awesome. Always a pleasure. Thank you for taking the time, jumping on with us as you always do. And don't be surprised if your phone rings and I'm begging for a trip.
Right. Come deckhand or something.
Come deckhand. Screw that. I'm just fishing. All right, buddy. Have a good night. Get some rest and get after it tomorrow.
Okay, guys. Thanks for having me on.
You bet. Talk to you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Austin Boom Powell Mosier, Austin's Northwest Adventure. The guy fishes all over the place.
Yeah.
Literally does all different fisheries, and Buoy 10 is one of his favorites. He's been doing it for a number of years. Very successful down there. Check him out on Facebook. Look him up at Austin's Northwest Adventures, LLC. He'll make the day well worth your time, even if you by chance didn't catch any fish. You're going to have a good time with him.
Yeah, so when you guys head down to Buoy 10, like Austin said, you don't have to fish those crowds. But one thing to acknowledge on the crowds is the absolute best fish finder there is other boats. And so when there's 200 boats fishing a seam and you don't see any nets flying, no people to fish on, what are you going to gain by going in and getting in that crowd and being, rod number 799 and 800 who's not catching
no fish? Yeah.
Right. When I was fishing Buoy 10 all the time, one of the things I really like to do is anticipate the next bite and get ahead of it.
Yeah.
Be the first boat at that next bite.
Right. Not the last one.
Not the last one.
That's me.
Yes.
That's typically me.
So,
good points, Barnum. You're talking about a fishery for, if you have not been down there, it's 15 miles long and 4 miles wide.
Right.
It is like bigger than anything you've probably put eyes on in the past, as far as jumping in and going. I mean, unless you're out here running around Puget Sound, but when people say Buoy 10, and you're like, oh, where's the Buoy 10? It's like, you drive over the Astoria Megala Bridge. There you go. You're in it.
As a young kid, my dad fished Buoy 10, predominantly.
Right.
But as I grew up and started to fish it as an adult, I don't think I've seen buoy 10 in like 7 years. Like,
Because
I
you're
don't even
always
know
up
if
in
it's
river,
still there.
right?
Like, I never get down that far.
Right.
Like, the farthest I ever get down is like Chinook.
Right.
You know, I just,
for good reason.
Right.
There's a lot of good fishing. And Austin even said above the bridge it's been performing.
And from
both sides.
Chinook to, you know, above the bridge on the Washington side is some of the best salmon fishing in the world.
Absolutely.
It really is.
It can be.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to jump out for a quick break. We come back. Finally, I believe Chef and Sherry are ready. They got a whole lot of seafood going on in there. Some type of major concoction he's got going on with a seafood stew of sorts. It smelled amazing when I ran in there at the last break, and this is something to behold. So don't go anywhere. Stay with us through the break. We come back. Chef Kelly and Sherry in the kitchen with a seafood stew that you're going to want to see right here on FHN.
I had the world to give you, baby. I don't even have the time to tell you bedtime stories or to chase away the monsters from your mind. You know, I can only give what I have. I'm sorry I was late today. I didn't get to see you dance the waltz. Spinning around the living room all dressed up in your mother's clothes. Oh, you know I love her even when we fight. When I get home to you, I just want to hold you and love you when you're calling my name. Here I
Hey everyone, welcome back to Fish Hunt Northwest. We're here in the kitchen with Chef Kelly for the recipe of the week. And what do we have going this week?
We're going to make a Cioppino seafood stew.
Seems like a whole lot of something.
Well, you know, I was going through my freezer and I'm like, I got to start using some of this stuff because I'm piling up all kinds of different stuff. You know, we're going into crab season. We have, you know, I had found some squid from squidding back in December. Yeah, let's make a Cioppino.
All right.
You know, this is a good one, probably in the wintertime, but, you know, let's try it in the summertime too. So, all right, so get started. I want to have a garnish with a little bit of toasted bread. So we're going to throw that in the oven, get that going.
Okay.
Okay, so, all right, so we have a hot pan going right here. Gonna get a little oil in there. Get that started. Okay. We're gonna throw in about 1/4 of a yellow onion. Julianne, get that sauteing up.
Just your regular, everyday onion.
Yes, I know.
According to the cashier,
the
right?
lady at the store was like,
Checkout.
what kind of onion?
Regular.
Regular? No, there's Maui onions too.
We come with like 10 of them in a bag. Yep. So that was about a 1/2 cup.
Yeah, about a quarter of a small onion. However onion you want. Yeah,
However you want to say it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So now we're going to add a little bit of garlic. So I like a lot of garlic. Let's say this is going to be about a tablespoon and a half. Really heavy on the garlic.
Wow.
I know.
We like our garlic.
Yes. Well done.
So is this kind of one of those that you just kind of throw in whatever you want in there, Chef?
Oh yeah, absolutely. This is there's no true rules to Cioppino.
Okay.
If you have muscles available, great. If you don't, whatever. I happen to dig some. These had a lot of barnacles on them, so it takes a little time to kind of clean them off.
Oh.
So it's what do you want to deal with, right? Okay, so now we're going to deglaze with about a half cup of white wine.
Okay. Deglaze.
Deglaze.
Yes.
Okay. I did a little no-no right there. In that, when you're adding white wine, try to add it off the flame, okay? Because it can light on fire in front of you, and it can might catch the bottle. I've seen bottles explode in hands before, so it's,
Well, at least you corrected yourself and let people know.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have our white wine reducing away right there.
Doesn't take long. That was a very hot pan.
Right. I'm going to add a pinch of chili flakes. It's not as spicy, but it's a little, yeah. Okay. I'm going to add a little bit of clam juice to it.
Oh, clam juice.
Yeah. If you'd made fish stock, like I have a little pot of fish stock starting already over here. That'd be great to add too if you don't want to get some clam juice. But either one is great. I just kind of prefer clam juice myself personally.
Okay.
Okay.
And you can just get that anywhere.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's simmering away, getting it reduced. Okay, now we can start adding our fish. So we have some lingcod here.
Okay.
Here, I'm going to add probably about 4 ounces of lingcod, some of my favorite fish.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I have a little bit of halibut. Halibut season was amazing this year, and so we have lots of that.
Sure. Yeah, we have a freezer full.
Right?
Yeah.
So
thank you.
You could take care of that. Okay, so I diced them, fairly on the small side, so so they'll cook fairly quickly.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so then we're going to add about a cup of diced tomatoes.
Is that just the canned diced tomatoes?
Yes, it's the canned diced tomatoes. I might add a little more, so let's hold on to that guy a little bit.
All right.
Okay.
I won't take it away.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. All right, we're starting to look like Cioppino now.
Yeah.
Right? We're going to add a little fresh tomatoes too. Just give a little fresher flavor to it.
What was that? Oh, fresh
diced
tomatoes.
Yeah, fresh diced tomatoes.
And like you said, it's basically whatever you want in this.
Yeah,
right?
I'm adding a little bit of fresh oregano.
That sounds good.
Right? Then we're just going to add in our clams and our mussels. All right. Let's put a lid on this thing. Oh, make sure you also season this. So, yes, the clams and mussels are going to give up a little bit of salt, but they don't give enough salt to just not do it. So I'm adding a little bit of kosher salt.
All right.
A little bit of fresh ground black pepper. Okay. I'm just going to put a lid on this thing and just let it simmer away. So originally, Cioppino came from San Francisco, and it was a kind of a fisherman's stew that they would just kind of throw in whatever they had. It came from, this is the rumor about it, was that it was like all the fishermen would gather around, like, hey, I'm getting a stew. Hey, what do you have to chip in? Cioppino. So
potluck stew.
Yeah, so
all fish and seafood though.
Yes.
Yes.
So yeah, anything you want. There's no rules to this. If you had, your razor clams,
yeah,
that'd be a good thing to throw in there. All kinds of, delicious things here we can use.
Okay. Here, right in the Northwest.
Yes.
Yes.
So we have that simmering away.
Was that just a baguette you put in there?
Yeah, I just have a baguette here, just toasting away. Those are done.
Just some olive oil and garlic on there?
Yeah, and a little bit of salt.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Those are perfect.
Yes. And so you'll notice that, we also have squid here available here in the Northwest. And so you don't have to just fry them. We can make a stew out of them too. But make sure that you add them at the last second to make sure that we are not overcooking it, because squid's one of those, if you cook it 30 seconds, it's perfect. Any more than that, it starts to get chewy.
So you just bought that at the store?
No, I jigged these.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, we have squid available here.
No wonder I didn't see you get them at the store.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, we have amazing squid. I know. Well, I mean, it was tough. No, this year was a little bit different. I'm used to really getting a quick limit, and it was a struggle.
Oh, okay.
They're a little bit on the small side, but I think they're delicious, and I think they're well worth it. And it's just a hoot. It's a great thing to bring the kids.
You corrected me pretty quick there, Chef. I don't blame you. Aren't the squid kind of big around here too?
No, they're
small
tiny,
ones?
tiny.
Boy, I just don't have it correct at all.
You have to go with me sometime. It's a hoot.
All right.
I brought my daughter along, and she had a great time with it. And
I bet that was fun.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Harper would go crazy the way she loves fishing. Yep. Can't wait to get her out there more.
All right. So another thing that's there's another seafood stew out there. It's called bouillabaisse, and people have questions about bouillabaisse in that it's kind of the same thing. It's not the same thing. It's Cioppino is kind of more chunky with lots of tomatoes in it, and bouillabaisse has its own flavor profile. Another thing is that in San Francisco we have a lot of Dungeness crab, just like we have. Here, and so it's. I think it's essential that you have Dungeness crab in it. It's that signature of that area, and so the other thing is that a lot of people will take their Dungeness crab and they throw whole, legs and claws and all that stuff in there. I don't know if you ever try to do that when it's all soupy and nasty. You're just like, you're like, dude, this is a mess.
Yeah.
So I always. So and another thing is that when you're freezing your crab, it's better to just process it, and then you have it as usable for crab cakes, for that stuff. So I pulled out.
And it's nice for us wives just to grab it out of the freezer.
Exactly. Yeah. And so we're going to add our Dungeness crab. It's still going to make it in there, but we're using crab meat. Okay. All right. And we're done. See, our clams are all opened up.
Look at that. Oof.
There you go. We're going to add a little bit of parsley, give it a little bit of color, and a lot more parsley. Right? And then we're going to check for our seasoning.
All good.
All good. Well, let me get a little touch more salt.
Okay.
See how it's saying, like some people say, oh well, no, you're going to get plenty of salt from the clams and the mussels. Not really.
You can't count on it.
Right. Now, if you wanted to go more heavier on the tomato and added some tomato sauce to it, you absolutely could. So I don't like mine too heavy on the tomato sauce. So
yeah, me either.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's all kind of personal preference.
It smells incredible.
Right?
As usual.
So if you want to build this nicely, we'll arrange the clams and mussels here.
All right. need a spoon or anything? No?
Nope.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, when you're cooking, you kind of get creative with tongs.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. Whew. Smell.
There you go.
Aroma. All right.
You ever dig clams?
You need more of this?
No, don't need that
Okay.
anymore. You ever dig clams?
I have not, actually.
It's fun for the kids. I did that with my daughter last year, and it was awesome. Like my daughter this year was like, "We're going to go dig clams." Well, yeah, she couldn't quite make it this year. She was so bummed. It was kind of funny. It was just kind of an off thing. It was like an added bonus, but she just loved getting in the in the dirt, in the sand and stuff.
Yeah, I think on a former recipe of the week, the razor clam, I had said to Dwayne that we needed to go take Harper.
Right?
Must have been busy. We've been a little busy.
Oh yeah. So season your crab too, because it needs a little touch of salt, and I'm adding just a little bit of extra virgin olive oil to it. Okay. Wow. Add our crab to it, just like that.
My goodness, chef.
Add our baguette. And we're done, guys. See how quick it is?
Wow.
Gorgeous Cioppino. And it's a great one pot kind of a thing,
Yeah.
I mean, you can make a lot for everybody, and you just kind of go through all your freezer.
And that's a fun concept, right?
Oh, yeah.
Everybody just bring what they have.
Yeah, exactly.
And throw it in a community pot.
Yeah. Okay, guys.
Okay. Chef, while we go ahead and start enjoying that, we're going to throw it back to you guys in the studio.
Awesome.
Yes.
Hey, it's keto friendly too. You ready?
I know it.
Oh, no bread.
No bread.
That's right.
All right.
Welcome back in studio. That looks flippin' amazing.
Yeah.
You see all the stuff you put in there?
It's a plethora of stuff.
It's a plethora. It's a big word, Hudson. What's it mean? Hudson Barnum, everybody. Fishing extraordinaire. Been out chasing some bass lately, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are they whooping on you? Or are you whooping on them?
A little bit of both.
Okay. That's good. Good to know.
He's spending all his hard-earned hay money
Oh, yeah. On bass
all
gear.
new bass gear.
Don't-
I cannot believe we stopped the store the other. I mean, they're like $14, $15 for a plug.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, wow. Throw
Little-
that in the weeds.
Little-
$15 and
yeah,
you're
or
pitching
the
it in the
trees.
weeds.
Little
No
advice
way.
for you: quit chasing the ditch pickles. Get after something that's got some chrome to it. What's wrong with you? Hey, before we get out here, a couple things. Matt Smith sent us some pictures on Instagram and whatnot. He was pretty excited. He actually got his first salt Chinook yesterday, I guess. Pretty proud of the fact he got it on his home hack breakaway flasher, Barnum.
There you go.
Yeah, people are using that little video. It's, I don't know, over 8,000 views or something
That's
now.
a great tip, though.
Yeah, it really works well, and guys are using it. I'm glad you're having success with barbless hooks. You're going to find that your hookup to land ratio is going to go through the roof if you're building them correctly, and they do work. Also, on top of that, today we had a friend of ours, Todd Ripley, was up there just about a mile or two off of Tattoosh Island, came across a humpback whale tangled in a bunch of rope and whatnot.
Really?
Yep. And they tried to cut the lines free, had difficulty, notified the Coast Guard, notified NOAA's entanglement response, crews deployed on out there. And I didn't hear the outcome or read, what the outcome of the whale was, but I think they were able to set it free and it's doing fine. But if you are out there in Puget Sound and come across a whale that's entangled in a net or some types of ropes or whatever off boats and is struggling, call 1-877-SOS-WHALE, and that's going to get you the right connection for folks that are in position to respond on an emergency basis and try to come and free the whale. Save Willie, whatever. Free Willie.
Free Willie.
Free Willie. Anyway, nice job, Todd, and the crew that was up there helping to save that humpback, because let's face it, we've lost a lot of gray whales this year.
Yep.
That's been kind of an epidemic. Numbers are extremely high, and unfortunately, we just lost, they believe, 3 additional orcas, 1 from each pod. And I believe, if I read the right report or indications, were breeding females out of each pod. So that's concerning. That's concerning. So more on that when we get David Trout actually here in studio several weeks down the road. We're going to talk with him on the Orca Task Force and take care of all the false information, all the rumors that's going on referencing that entire program there, because he's one of the head folks. Amongst everything else he does, he's also on the governor's Orca Task Force. So, reminder, we will be at Sportco this Saturday, 1 to 3 p.m. We'll be down there earlier in the day, just kind of hanging out, talking with folks, and getting ready to do our show. Please come join us. You're going to enjoy the show. Lots of great content, in-studio guests. Hudson's going to be there. Actually, no, he's not. He's got some driver's ed thing going, or I don't know what you got. Anyway, we got tons of stuff going on, lots of giveaways, really good quality fishing gear, crab pots. Want to thank our sponsors for that, Yakama Bait, Bomac, and of course, Northwest Rods by Dave Calhoun. With that, we're going to sign off. We will see you Saturday afternoon at Sportco, 1 p.m. Make sure you're there.